Yes, Chair, it's ready to go.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Doing well. Just quickly, again, a quick reminder before we start. For those who wish to speak, please raise your hand on the screen. Any questions, comments, or concerns? And also, put your mic on mute if you're not speaking, because it would help us avoid the echoing in the meeting. So good morning to everybody. I've got apologies from Councillor Tate, and Councillor Fawzia Shaheen has very kindly sort of agreed to sub on behalf of Councillor Tate. So thank you very much, Councillor Shaheen. Councillor Akhtar is still struggling to get onto the system, so as soon as he enters the system, we'll probably know that he's on as well. So good morning, everybody, once again. And today is the Community Safety Committee meeting on the 24th of July. So agenda item first. Let's start with agenda item first. Minutes of the last meeting that was held on 3rd of April. Are we all happy with that?
Yes, Chair.
So the silence would be taken as a yes, thank you. Any matters arising at all?
No, not from officers, Chair.
And,
Okay, so that's good. So that's none. Councillor Shaheen, did you have any matters arising from them?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay, that's fine. So agenda item 3, we've got no urgent items, neither for today's meeting. Admissions to the public? Any admissions to the public? Not any declarations of interest, so there's no admission to the public, and there's declaration of interest at all. Okay. If not, we'll go to agenda item 6, which is performance management information, the outcome targets. That's from page 6, and Scott Donovan is going to present that to us. So, agenda item 6, over to you, Scott, please.
Hello, councillors. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Right. So this is the performance information outcome targets to give you an update on how we performed for the year 2019-20. As a short summary, we did perform very, very well. It's something we need to be proud of in this year. We had very strong performance against most fire types, and the minor elements that we do need to work on a little bit more are actual rescues and road traffic collisions, but I will go into more detail on that as I go through. The total activity for 2019-20 showed an overall decrease in incidents attended from in the region of 2,000, from 25,676 down to 23,355. Although through each of the performance indicators now, one of the most pleasing things that we can see in 2019-20 is there has been a significant drop in arson. This is seen across all the districts. Arson is broken down into primary fires and secondary fires. Overall, for the service, we're looking at a 20% reduction, or a 19.5% reduction, which is testament to the good work that all the district commanders, the prevention teams and the local risk reduction teams are doing across the district, because historically this has been an area where we have struggled, particularly around our outdoor secondary fires. If there are any questions for any of this, please don't hesitate to jump in. For the brigade, actual rescues, we do seem to be showing a 41.9% increase for actual rescues. This is tainted slightly because of the memorandum of understanding we have with the Yorkshire Ambulance Service, where we will go out now and effect entry for them to the most vulnerable cases. So this is added significantly to the number of rescues we have done. Without that target, we would still have been 13% over our actual rescues. And again, a significant proportion of these rescues were attributed down to the response to Storm Ciara, where we did respond by leading a lot of people to rescue. We got a lot of people out of their homes. We did get a lot of people to safety there, so that contributed quite significantly to the number of actual rescues we have done. You can see dwelling fires for the service are also under target. This is a positive result, and it is something we will look to build on. Currently 0.7% under is obviously a positive that we're under target, but it's something we will look at, an area we'll look to build on going forward. In terms of non-domestic building fires, again, this is an area as a service where we are 3% under our target, which is again a very positive performance. There are a couple of spikes across the districts, and we are working with our prevention teams and our protection teams to identify where these are, and then working with the building owners and the management companies to quickly rectify any issues we do find. Another great positive going down here is the prevalence of false alarms, which is historically accounted for a lot of our activity. You can see that we are, as a service, 7.3% under the target, and this has had a major impact on the number of overall activity we have attended. Fire-related injuries, again, a real positive, 12% under the target for the service. And when we look at what our aim of making workshop safer is ultimately we want to cut down on injuries, so that's a great positive for us. And then we come to one of the issues where we have been struggling over the last year, and that's road traffic collisions. And I just want to just put a short explanation onto this one. So road traffic collisions is an area where we are 8.7% above our target, so we have not met our target on this one. And there are a number of reasons for it. Quite a significant proportion of our road traffic collisions happen on the motorway, the M62 and the M1, particularly around the M62 area, tends to cause us a lot of issues. And it's very, very difficult to put initiatives in place to capture some of these people having these accidents, because they do happen outside of service. A lot of people are coming into West Yorkshire from Manchester, South Yorkshire, North Yorkshire, Lancashire, and it's quite difficult to put interventions in place. Although we've got quite robust measures across the districts within West Yorkshire, it is the next step of complexity when we start working outside of the local service. It will be easy to think that every road traffic collision is very, very serious, where we're extricating people, but as it happens, a lot of the road traffic collisions we have attended are in the request of the police, where we've had low speed, low impact collisions where it may just be a case that they want the battery disconnecting, or there are fluids leaking from the vehicle and they just want to check to make sure it's not posing a danger. So things like the radiator fluids, the oils, as opposed to the petrol, which can be a lot more serious. So although we are above target on this one, it's not all real serious incidents. And across the district, we have got actions in place. We do play very prominent part in the local road safety groups, and we also have very specific interventions in place, like in Kirklees, such as the Bike Lights initiative that's been initiated by the Kirklees district in the Spen Valley, and also the work with Huddersfield University to look at how we can better communicate and engage with people having the accidents. Do we have any questions for that? Okay.
Just a couple of hands up, Scott.
Just 1 second, Scott. We've got Councillor Renshaw here. Councillor Renshaw, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to refer to actual rescues on page 10 of the agenda. And it's where it relates to targeting partnership work with other agencies to reduce the number of rescues that are made. And one specific one, and Dave will be aware that I'm really keen to get my teeth down this, is about the water rescue. And I just wondered if, like schools have recommendations from you to, or other public buildings do, regarding what they should have in place for the safety and well-being of their children and young people. I just wondered if there were any recommendations that you could pass on to Yorkshire Water to advise them on what they need to do in order to ensure that areas are safe for the community within their area. Because there are things like safety rings that would come at a vast expense to the Yorkshire Fire Authority if it was to cover the whole of the 5 areas. And yet, these enterprises are there to ensure that areas are safe themselves. So, is there any recommendations that you pass on to them at all?
Yes, through our IRP programme, also I'm sure you're fully aware of the initiative we put in Leeds, where we did place the flow lines and safety rings down the Leeds River and Leeds Canal, where we're having lots of problems. And we realised that it was such an impact on us there, we did enter into partnership to secure that kind of provision. The other rescue we seem to be having tends to be a lot more sporadic, so it doesn't the full time investment that we need to put in place when it is in a specific area, it is spread across. We do work very, very closely with Yorkshire Water. We do work very closely with other partners who uphold the lakes and waters. And we also work very closely with the local authorities that do struggle, do seem to get hit hard when we do have the flooding events. So we do work closely with the flood wardens in Calderdale. We are looking at areas in Bingley where we tend to have flooding now. So although we're not looking at this time at making any major investment in terms of additional water provision across an area, just as you say, it is expensive to the service. We do work very, very closely in terms of planning, in terms of making sure our response is effective, in terms of making sure that our crews know exactly where they need to be when flooding does occur. So we do have provision in place, and it's just a case of checking where these incidents are happening. And the vast majority of our rescues do tend to be now due to wide area flooding. The only exception to this one really is Aubrey Lagoon in Ossett, where unfortunately a couple of years ago we did have an individual die there while swimming. So we do have some very, very targeted initiatives with the water provider there, where we are sending crews out and doing as much as we can to try and raise awareness of the dangers of open water swimming there and what needs to be done if somebody does get into difficulties.
Yeah, Councillor Renton, would you like to come back on that?
Yes, please, Chair. I'd just like to thank the Fire Authority for the work and the promotion that they do, but I do feel that there's a need to probably give recommendations to Yorkshire Water, although I admire the work that you do and you work closely with them, and it's very demanding. I think there's more that should be done on the part of Yorkshire Water, and therefore recommendations to them in order to ensure that areas are safe for the community need to be put in place, and I just think that's probably a way forward for both. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. And just on that, we have just produced a water safety video in conjunction with Yorkshire Water that will be released on all our media formats.
Okay, thank you for that, Scott. Going in order of the people, when they raise their hands, I've got 4 people who would like to ask questions or comment. So, Councillor Mike Pollard, you're next, please.
Okay, thank you. Just looking at this report to the point we've got to it so far, just looking at page 10 initially of the report and the actual rescues data. Noting that again, obviously this assistance for Yorkshire Ambulance Service has skewed the figure somewhat. If we strip out the 222 that are cited as providing support to YAS, we've got essentially an excess over the 3-year rolling average of basically 103 incidences, i.e. 878 versus 775. Looking at other data on page 15, in terms of numbers of road traffic collisions, those are up by, rather than looking at the percentage, but of the number of incidences, those are up by 54. Can we assume that basically all the balance relates to the Storms Chara and Dennis flooding stuff? It looks as if it probably is. And again, you do wonder about the statistical significance of some of these things, because it's in the area of stuff happens when you get a couple of really severe storms.
Yeah, the balance does seem from the flooding, and it is one of the things that stuff does happen, but we do have a duty to plan for foreseeable risk, and obviously through climate change we do seem to be seeing more extreme events like this resulting in significant flooding, and to that end we are making sure that our teams are fully equipped, we do, as you're fully aware, a few years ago we did increase the capacity of Todmorden to be able to respond to flood rescue. It is something we're looking at in terms of other areas across the service about where we need to put our flood provision. So as we do see this risk increasing, we are making sure we've got provision in place to be able to respond to it. Ideally, the response should be our final course of action, and prevention is where we should be going to make sure we don't need to achieve these rescues. So we are working very closely with Calderdale Council, which obviously is a predominant area for the flooding. And as was mentioned previously, we are linking in with other water providers such as Yorkshire Water to try and get our messages out there, to try and get members of the community where possible to make sure they are as safe as possible as well, because there are actions they can take to mitigate the risk to themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Various other bits. If I could turn to page 12, the fire-related injuries figure. Just to clarify that a bit, does everything get included in that? I mean, I'm just thinking, is it the case that it's recorded as an injury if there's any reference to the ambulance service when they're present at the scene? Does it include, for example, where the ambulance service just checks somebody out for minor smoke inhalation?
Yes, so even the precautionary measures are included on this figure. So, it's not necessarily that somebody's got significant burns or requires hospitalisation. It is often the precautionary measures where we do request the ambulance very, very quickly, because we're not always certain of underlying health issues there. So it's better to be safe than sorry in this case.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'd like to briefly turn, because we haven't really discussed this one yet, page 14, section 8 of the report, regarding the service priorities. And just looking at the last bullet point there, the lessons being learned from the Grenfell inquiry, and how we respond to high-rise emergencies. I'm not aware of any change to the way in which we respond to them. So how are we looking to improve? I mean, there is the sort of the standard turnout to high rise, but is that being looked at differently?
Yeah, so there's a couple of elements to this priority, councillor. So the first one, as you mentioned, is the high rise, and then there's also other foreseeable risks. So what we have done on this one is we have got a high-rise project ongoing related to Grenfell, with area manager Dave Teggett leading on that one. He's linking in regionally and nationally to come up with a combined response to how we manage high-rise incidents. So what we're currently at the phase of doing now is we've just started training with our control staff regarding fire survival guidance. So we are giving a consistent message to those in high-rises regarding evacuation strategies, regarding how the fire service will respond. We're also looking at new equipment, so things such as smoke hoods, which will allow us to improve the safety of people that we do need to evacuate through smoke. We are looking at entry control boards so we can get a better understanding of where people are in the buildings. We are looking at a whole host of other equipment such as smoke curtains, which can protect the flow of smoke both for occupants and firefighters. And then we are also looking at firefighter safety and how we can make sure the response to these incidents is very, very consistent. People have a very good understanding of their responsibility at these incidents. And it's just got to the point now, so Dave Teggett has been working on that now since the beginning of the year. And we'll just get to the point now where we are seeing the outcomes from this, and we are just about to start the training to improve the safety of our firefighters responding and also the communities.
Okay, thank you.
Is that okay, Councillor Pollard?
I've got another couple, but I can come back a little bit later when somebody else has had a bash.
Okay. David James.
Hi. Through you, Chair. I just want to raise issues around the dwelling fires 2.12 on page 11. I sort of raised the issue about a couple of months ago about chip pan fires and whether we could have a report on chip pan fires and what preventative measures can be taken. And I've also raised that within Leeds City Council with regard to council properties where action could be taken. And I noticed that one of the incidents last night was 18052, which was a fire that resulted from a takeaway within the domestic premises. So I just wondered whether, given more self-employment is happening, and I know on our estate we've got people making pizzas for as a small business, that smoke detectors need to be installed, but also where they're doing production of takeaways, that we make sure that any measures are put in place. Thank you.
On that one, Councillor, yes, regarding the chip pan fires, I've just got the information from our IRS, and I will submit a paper at the next Community Safety Committee just to give you an update on where they're happening, why they're happening, and what we're going to do about them. So hopefully I can provide a little bit of confidence there. And regarding the takeaway, yes, this was a takeaway where we attended, and we have had incidents of takeaway fires before. Things like chip shops used to be a more regular occurrence, but they are getting better as standards improve in terms of local authority licensing and management of them. I don't know the details of this exact case, but I will look into that one and I'll get a response out to you.
If I may as well, please, Chair, it's Dave Walton. Members may recall that a year or so ago, our fire protection team did a very specific and targeted focus on flats above shops such as this in the higher risk, higher incident prevalence areas as well. So I think as Scott reports, we have pushed these down through some fairly positive intervention in key areas, but it's definitely one to keep our eye on.
Thank you, Dave. Is that okay, Councillor Jenkins?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and we have Councillor Peter Harron, please, because he's next on the list, please.
Thank you. The first point is almost supplementary to Councillor Pollard's. It's disappointing that you said we've just started, your words, training control room staff for high-rise buildings. I would have thought that 37 months after Grenfell, we might have started before now, but you can answer that later. The point I want to raise is that all these figures in this report are at the very least 16 weeks old, and some of them are 29 weeks old. I would have thought it'd been useful if we'd had information for the second quarter as well, or as much as possible. And the second quarter of 2020 has been profoundly different from the first quarter of 2020. And the only mention of the virus problem is in the city reports later. Isn't there any further information available to senior management? Are you still working on information that's 16, 17 weeks out of date? Or have you got it and then you could give it to us? Can we have the information at the end of May, please?
Absolutely, Councillor. So just for when we did present this paper back in April, obviously that Community Safety Committee did get cancelled because of the virus. We are working on the most up-to-date data, and we have been monitoring it through the COVID pandemic, and it has seemed to be consistent with previous years in the overall ranges and incident types. But I'm more than happy to share the data for the last quarter with you once this meeting is complete.
Well, we have this fixation on quarters. It doesn't have to be a quarter. I'll give the information end of May. That would give us a lot more relevant information, the stuff that's 3.5 months out of date, going back to just after Christmas. Is there anything we can do to go away from the quarters and go to more up-to-date information?
Thank you. If I may, Chair, please, it's Dave again. Members will recall that the prior to the situation we find ourselves in now, we had got into the practice of giving you live information at the actual meeting and bringing it into the room. I do accept that actually that probably we could find a way of doing it now. It's just the way we've been running this meeting electronically, but certainly for next time round, we will make sure that in terms of reporting as we do, we'll also bring you and perhaps distribute immediately before our email or something like that, exactly where we are at that latest position.
That would be more useful. Thank you.
That's all, Councillor Aaron. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. Okay, shall we move on to Councillor Fawzia Shaheen? She's been waiting for a long time. Councillor Shaheen, please.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I just really want to appreciate the report. It's really promising, and there's a lot of work that has gone into this. So I want to really say thank you to all the officers and everyone that's actually worked to make this report a success and make our communities a lot safer. Just in regards to the language that we're working with different communities in our publicity, literature and other information, I serve in a ward that has a growing community of Eastern Europeans. Not only them, there's other refugees that have come into the ward and stuff. So English, Urdu or Punjabi isn't really their language which they would understand or speak. So could we actually look at having some leaflets that are in different languages, as well as the messages we send on audio, they're in different languages as well. I do know it does mention there's still the social media campaign that is running. However, not everyone has internet access or could go on social media. So it'd be really good to have some leaflets or some publicity in different languages that actually cater for all communities. Also, you've mentioned in regards to the false alarms, once again, that's really promising as well. I remember in a committee before, the community safety one, the numbers were quite high, and it was about how do we actually tackle and establish it is a false alarm. So it's really promising to read that we've actually got a designated person that's actually looking at that. So the numbers have gone down, which obviously saves time as well. So that's fantastic. And also just in regards to road traffic accidents, I take on the point that they are sometimes, well, most of the times on the motorway, and it's not easy to actually get to them and things like that. I still feel locally as well, there's maybe sometimes it's not reported, but it does happen locally, and it is a growing issue and a growing need. I do recall in the report you've mentioned you work with the mosques when it's Ramadan period and stuff like that. However, it needs to be throughout the whole year. It's not only the mosques, it's not only Ramadan period. We need to be getting this message out throughout the whole year. So what work are we doing to make sure we're engaging with communities not only on festival times but throughout the whole year? So I'd like to know that. And also in regards to the languages, what work will we be doing to make sure we're actually getting literature out in different languages, please? That's what I'd like to know.
Thank you for them, Councillor. So regarding the leaflets, that's an absolutely valid point. I do agree that it's probably time now that we can be looking at refreshing where we should be publishing and how we should be publishing that. What I will ask the district commanders to do is to identify the minority groups in their communities, and particularly the emerging groups, and we will look at producing leaflets and information in languages which suit them groups that are coming through to us. That's no problem whatsoever. Regarding false alarms, yes, the prevalence of false alarms has gone down 2019-20, but just a little bit of context and in reference to what Councillor Harron was just referring to, over the COVID pandemic, we have increased our mobilisation to false alarms. The reason for this is with a lot of people being furloughed from employment, a lot of businesses being closed down, we normally rely on people working in premises to raise their alarm if there is a fire. As we have lots of premises that have been standing empty, we have been increasing our mobilisation to all AFAs, so we haven't been waiting for a secondary call. This has resulted in around 500 additional mobilisations over the last 3 months, because we want to make sure that if there's nobody there who can actually formally confirm there is a fire, it's better to get a fire engine there to make sure that we have got that kind of confirmation. And then regarding RTCs, obviously, like as you mentioned, we do work with mosques and other places of worship during particular festivals. We're also part of Operation Steerside, which is a multi-agency approach to RTCs, which works in Bradford. We have similar approaches in Kirklees and Calderdale with Operation Hormill, where we look to take the most dangerous drivers off the road and the most dangerous vehicles. And the focus is on the fatal four, the drink driving, seatbelt, speed and mobile phone offences. Kirklees, through the District Commander Toby May, he's working with Huddersfield University to put together an academic response to identify how best to engage with people who are more likely to have road traffic collisions or be involved in them. And even from the early stages, every Year 5 child does get basic guidance on road traffic collisions. And you might ask the question, why are we concentrating on 8, 9, 10-year-olds? The reason being is 8, 9, 10-year-olds can often be a distraction in the cars, whether it's been arguing with the brothers and sisters or just, I know my son often likes to kick me in the back when I'm driving. There's also elements of starting that engagement early with people. So, if we can start getting involved with the children very early on, we're building that relationship, and that links into a better relationship as the children grow through. So we do work very closely with partners to get involved with children very, very early and throughout their life, really, to try and influence and educate on road safety.
Okay, is that okay, Councillor Shaheen? I would also like to add quickly to that as well, Scott, is to maybe to engage with some of the, talking of, various other languages and so on, to engage probably with some of the local radio stations as well, in particularly, say, in Leeds and Bradford, where they would be very happy to forge sort of relationships with the authority and work together in terms of, raising awareness and so on. So there's quite a few number of community radio stations and all that, which could be very, would be happy to sort of join hands with the authority and help in terms of raising awareness. Just a quick one before I go to Councillor Pollard. Looking at first of all, we do welcome, the district reports, district by district, and authority by authority in terms of performance monitoring and whatever. It looks really reassuring that overall, the arson, whether it be primary or whether it be secondary fires, have gone down significantly across all the districts. But there is a little bit of concern. I don't know whether there might be an explanation to that, whether it might be just due to some local issue or whatever. If we go to Kirklees district, for example, we've got the fire-related injuries, which is 44.8% higher. So was that sort of, a particular incident, or why has that gone up so much? And also road traffic collisions as well, where it consistently shows in the green across other areas. In Kirklees, it's gone up 29%. Is there certain incidents that happened, or I just would like to, compared to the other districts. That's all.
Yes, as we mentioned in the report provided by Toby May, unfortunately we've seen quite a number of fatalities in Kirklees 2019-20. There are a lot of the fatalities, and this is mirrored across the service. We do see a large involvement in mental health with our fatalities. And that is an area we are looking to address and provide training for all our firefighters and prevention staff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is something we're really working very hard to improve on. Regarding the RTCs, a large proportion, or a significant number are on the motorway again. I don't know if anybody knows around the junction 22, 23, 24 area. We do seem to be seeing lots and lots of issues there, and it is something we are working through the road safety group to try and improve on. But as I said before, I did explore the difficulties with that one. We're also seeing issues in Spen around Gummersall, Hetman Wyke, and we have got initiatives in place to try and reduce the RTCs in there. But I think the best thing I can do now, just to give you a bit of a more local point, is to bring Toby in, and Toby will give you an update of what's happening in Kirklees in terms of RTCs.
Okay.
So,
Councillor Pollard, you wanted to ask a question, please?
Yep. Morning, councillors. It's Toby May, District Commander for Kirklees. So just to come in on that point, yeah, as you'll see within my report, I do recognise that there are a larger proportion of fire-related injuries. If I just cover that point for now, we have had quite a number of incidents within Kirklees where there have been a lot of people in the household that have been affected by smoke inhalation at the properties, and some of those numbers have been upwards to 4 or 5 people within the same property. We've already initiated a media campaign through our corporate comms team, who have been really great support with that, into Kirklees Council, and that campaign continues to run in terms of sending messages out about get out, stay out, and testing smoke detectors and so on, and the need for people to exit the properties as soon as possible. And that's work that we'll continue to do as part of the risk reduction strategy for our district moving forward. In terms of road traffic collisions, Scott's exactly right. If you look at the location of the district boundary, we actually have quite a big section of the M62 motorway. A large proportion of incidents that happen within the M62 motorway are around Ainley Top, the actual roundabout area itself, and have been associated to some part in relation to some of the timescales. So when the work's been carried out on the motorway, there's been an awful lot of work carried out on the M62 motorway. So around about that time, we've seen a number of accidents rise as well. And also within Kirklees, the statistics and data that we've collated through the Road Safety Partnership Group that we lead on and chair within Kirklees Council, a large proportion of the road traffic collisions are associated to and issues that we've got are associated to quad and motorbikes, which is an association to forms of antisocial behaviour. And again, that forms part of the antisocial behaviour strategy that sits within the Community Safety Partnership for Kirklees. Unless anyone's got any questions, I just wanted to give you that update. Thank you.
No, that's great. Thank you for that, Toby. I've got Councillor Casey Austin.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to put my thanks really to all the teams across the district of Wakefield. It's good to see that once again the underlying trend is reduction, and to say thank you for all the hard work once again. Seems to be an ongoing trend every time that Wakefield always seems to have a reduction, and I just want to say thank you for that. Lovely to make the district.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure if Lee's on at the moment, but if he's not, we'll pass that on. I'm just scrolling through who's dialed in, but we'll pass it on to Lee Miller.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pollard, please.
Thank you. Just a couple of things on this report, and something that's arisen slightly peripheral to it in the news in the last couple of days. Firstly, just a bit of clarification in the complaints section on page 60. There's a significant, very significant improvement in the situation regarding complaints with regard to operational matters. Could you clarify for me what sort of issues those could be? It sounds as if somebody might be complaining about you squirting water incorrectly on their garden or something, but could you tell me what sort of stuff gives rise to an operational complaint?
Absolutely, Councillor, and although you joke, we do get complaints of the very nature of what you've just spoken about. We do get complaints following house fires where an owner or an occupant may complain that we spread too much water or damaged the property when we've been trying to dirty carpets or the like, when we've been trying to extinguish the fire. So that is one of the type of complaints we get. Second to that, we've had complaints regarding our attitude sometimes and how we've spoken to members of the public. Often when we do go to incidents, we sometimes need to be a little bit more forthright than we would normally be, and that can be taken as barking orders at individuals in the nature of trying to maintain their safety, but some people don't respond to that as well as they can, and they think we're being a little bit over the top or aggressive, when actually it's very much in the, we need to be very strong and robust in our instruction for people to maintain their safety. So they're the predominant type of complaints we do seem to come across.
Okay. The final point I have on this one is, as I say, slightly peripheral to the Grenfell fire stuff on page 14. I'm aware that this is a meeting in public, albeit not a public meeting. So it may be that it might be a case of no comment, perhaps. But I noted the news item that the King's College Hospital ICU was actually closed the other day because some unsafe cladding had been found on the building. And the statement was that there were 5 other hospitals I'm not sure whether in England or in the whole of the UK, that were described as being at risk. And for one of the news organisations, that they have quoted verbatim something from a government spokesman that sounds slightly implausible at best and slightly outrageous at worst, because the quote is, "No one is going to tell you what the buildings are," i.e. the other 5 hospital buildings. "It's not in the public interest due to safety concerns." Now, that's a really rather bizarre statement, but can we just confirm a negative here? Can we confirm that none of those 5 other hospitals are in the West Yorkshire area that have that cladding issue that has been raised?
Thank you,
David.
Yeah, I'll take that if I may, Chair. As members are aware, we have been doing an extensive piece of work on this, and in terms of hospitals, as in sleeping accommodation, etc., no, there are none of those in West Yorkshire. There is one research facility that I'm aware of, but that has no direct impact on life risk, etc., and that's certainly something that we're aware is being remediated. In fact, in terms of a more general comment, I would say that our relationship and working processes with the local hospitals has been exemplary throughout. They really have supported us right from the very start with this one.
That's good, thank you.
Great, good to hear that. We've got Peter. Peter, did you want to ask a question, Peter? Is that right? You put your hands up. Oh. Peter Herron.
Thank you. Yes, one sentence to Mr. Walton. Yeah, we're going to get a report on Grenfell and all the various impacts on the authority at the next full authority meeting, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I've got hands up from Councillor David Curtin. Did you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Page 22.
Councillor Curtin, we can't hear you. Is that? Could you come a bit closer?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Slightly.
Not very clearly, but yeah.
Well, if you can hear me, page 22, I'd just like to say a big thanks to the Calderdale staff for his which represents 2 dwelling fires per week, which is really, really good news for the whole of the Calderdale district. Did you manage to pick that up?
Sorry,
I've got enough of it in respect to performance in the Calderdale district, and particularly around dwelling fires, and we'll pass that on to the district if he's not on.
Sorry, Councillor Curtin, we couldn't hear what you just said. I'm sorry.
I'd just like to say a big thanks to the Calderdale staff for achieving their targets, fire dwelling targets for 2019. Great news, just 2 fires per week throughout the whole of the district of Calderdale.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Curtin. If we've and that's acknowledged by and will be passed through by the deputy chief there. Any more questions at all on item 6? So we'll move on to agenda item 7, and Scott will continue to give us a brief on that, which is the arson convictions for 2019-2020.
Yes, this is just for note for councillors, Chair. Obviously, we have a fire investigation unit that consists of 4 dedicated officers and a number of our station commanders who also have it as a secondary reference. The work this team does is very difficult. Obviously working in the most difficult situations, and in support of police prosecutions and convictions. This paper just gives an overview of the convictions that have been undertaken for 2019-20 based on the evidence provided by our fire investigation staff, and sentences for these convictions has resulted in sentencing of over 81 years for arson. A breakdown of note seen on the next page. It's obviously something that the police rely on us for. The individuals we do have working for us often work in the most harrowing situations, following fatalities and serious injuries in these house fires. So we're really appreciative of the work they do undertake, and this is echoed by the police as well.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Any questions or comments, please? Because Councillor David Jenkins wanted to say something around the mental health issues. Councillor Jenkins, please.
Yes, thank you for the report. I know it's a very trying and difficult issue, but I wondered whether that we could have some sort of a breakdown of the numbers of cases of arson where mental health might be a factor. And because I think the government's changed its policy with regard to criminal prosecutions to ask that mental health issues are taken more into account in a report that came out this week. So I wondered if we could just have some indication when investigations take place as to the cause of arson incidents, particularly the deliberate ones, and whether that would be helpful as a collective insight for all agencies to learn from.
Okay. If I may respond to that, Councillor, certainly one of the primary issues within this, it's not the role of the fire service to determine whether a mental health condition as such is in play with some of these incidents. Certainly, it may be indicated, and certainly may be indicated in some of the narrative. But in terms of convictions, that's usually the only place where it is recorded formally, where it's proven as part of a criminal or court case. It's not something I particularly want my crews taking, and I'll put in inverted commas, an educated guess at. I don't think that's appropriate for us to do. But certainly we can feed back to you in our narrative about how that works.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Looking at the figures, there's quite a few that are awaiting results as well. So hopefully when we get the next update, we might have some more updates on some of the cases awaiting trials and so on as well, and judgment.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Any other questions or comments at all with regard to agenda item 7, arson and convictions? If not, we'll move to agenda item 8, please, which is service delivery spotlight on case studies, and that starts from page 69 on your, if you receive the paperwork. So yes, please, can we have a bit of, because that's the most interesting in a way part for me to know what's happening locally and all the community events and stuff that goes on with engaging with youth and engaging with other sections of community. So yes, please.
Yeah, and just in particular, this paper, Chair, it does focus on the work that has been done during the COVID pandemic and how West Yorkshire Fire Service has supported our partners, the most vulnerable in the communities, and also taking a lead on maintaining contact with vulnerable youths and people who appreciate the direction through the Prince's Trust. We have had some really good feedback from the Prince's Trust regarding how we've been delivering that, and there is a spotlight on the Prince's Trust. But right from the offset through this, the vast majority of our employees have been very open and working above and beyond to go out and often put themselves at greater risk to be able to support those who really need the help.
Great. Councillor Shaheen, you wanted to ask something?
Just really a comment, Chair. Thank you for that. It's just really it's a welcoming part of the report. So absolutely, we are working in very difficult times, and with COVID-19 and a lot of young people not really knowing where to go, what to do. And I think I really appreciate the time that the Fire Authority and the partners have actually given in regards to engagement. So that's been really promising, and it's something that has been noted by communities as well. So thank you very much for that effort.
Thank you, Councillor.
Well, thank you for that. And to be perfectly honest, I've been really impressed by the engagement and involvement of the community overall as well, in terms of volunteers who have really sort of, for example, in Leeds, we were inundated by, by the interest from the volunteers who wanted to do stuff, during this pandemic and difficult time. So as a community, I think people have really come through as lots of local heroes, I've seen in action and so on. So I'm sure, looking at some of the stuff that you've also sent with Kirklees and Leeds, Wakefield and Bradford, it's really reassuring, to see some of the stuff not only from the staff, but also from the community and volunteers in particular as well. So we really do appreciate that. And please pass on our gratitude on behalf of the committee members to the staff and to the volunteers as well. So thank you for that. Anything else? Yeah, we've got Councillor David Curtin, please. Just Councillor.
Hello, I hope you can hear me this time. I'd just like to also pass on my thanks, page 77, for the work I have done working with Calderdale Council and the community. They've done some terrific work over this area, so I'd just like to pass on my thanks there.
We will do, Councillor, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Any questions? Any queries? Any remarks at all with regards to service delivery spotlight? If not, yeah. So we've got lots of compliments for you to deliver. If not, we move on to agenda item 9, which is safeguarding activity update on safeguarding, please.
So the purpose of this report, Chair, is to inform the committee of the safeguarding action undertaken during 2019 by the service, and to give an update of the cases that have number of cases that have been referred. So for 2019, 168 cases of concern have been generated by the service. What we do recognise in the service is that we are in a position of trust, and we do have the opportunity to get into some of the most vulnerable households, some of the people with the most significant issues are some people most at need. And in order to build on that, and as a duty of the service, we have fostered links, developed training, and work very, very closely with our local authority partners to be able to develop referral pathways. So this is just for note, just to tell about how as I said, we are going out there, and then when we do find people from a whole struggling in a whole host of ways through domestic violence, forced marriage, forced labour, crime. People just need a little bit of support. We are in a position that we can put cause for concern in and secure help for them individuals.
Great. Councillor Tracy Austin, please.
Yeah, just a question on page 18 on the table 2, the number of cause for concerns raised. If you look down the table, Wakefield's only got 6. Now, I'm not saying it's because, you know, we haven't got as many people there. Is there a reason why that is so low and all the rest are so high? Is it because we're not picking up as many referrals, or, you know, what is the reason why Wakefield is coming in so low under all the other districts?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of elements to this, Councillor. Some of this stuff comes down to training and awareness, and about when Wakefield District picked up their training. It has been a rolling programme over the last 18 months, 2 years, and some of the stuff has been at the back end, so that'll be an element of it that Wakefield may have received their training towards the back end. And another element of it is it's also been quite an awareness for a lot of our, particularly our operational crews. And what we've had to try and do is temper some of the approach we want to do. I think what we tend to do is we'll go out and we'll compare everybody to ourselves. So if you do see a young family struggling, you may feel that, well, actually that's a cause for concern or a cause for safeguarding, when actually it isn't. They're just less fortunate at ourselves. So it's just trying to get that balance right, and getting that across all 5 districts has been quite a challenge. But I think going forward now, and obviously we'll present some updated figures at the next meeting, just to give you an idea where we're at. And I do believe Wakefield, you will start to see a lot more. It sounds horrible, but we will see more. But obviously that's more support we are giving to individuals.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Pollard, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, looking at section 1, para 2 on this one, and this new concept of soft intelligence. Looking at my experience of having to read serious case reviews in respect of some tragedies occurring in children's services, for example, I suspect that soft intelligence is actually always present when you look back at these serious case reviews. It's just that nobody pressed the correct buttons using that soft intelligence. This seems to be a new concept for the fire service, but it seems to have gone slightly astray initially, because section 3, para 6 suggests that the 2 incidences of soft intelligence being obtained for this report, both of them actually were deemed to be inappropriate. So could you just explain what the story was behind that?
I don't know the individual councillor, but the processes we do have in place where we're very, very open to our firefighters, and we do stress the importance that if they do see anything that they don't feel right, they will submit a cause for concern. So as you can imagine, this can be anything at all, and if it just doesn't feel right, a lot of people are relating them to their own experiences. So what the processes are, we raise soft intelligence with our district prevention managers who do have a high level of training, and it is for them to make a decision based on what they've heard, the environment, and that may involve a revisit back to the home or back to the individual. So I think I'd like to see lots and lots of cases of soft intelligence raised incorrect and see them filtered by the DPM or the district prevention manager.
Yeah, it's just that the notion of soft intelligence being ever inappropriate is the thing that's slightly surprising. By its very nature, soft intelligence is woolly and vague and just a bit of a feeling, but those bits of feelings can add up to a solid concern further down the line. So I don't think it's difficult to see why that sort of vague soft intelligence should be ever entirely sort of expunged from the record, should we say?
Yes, I take your point, Councillor, and I suppose the word in here regarding incorrectly raised is probably the wrong terminology, maybe unfounded or, you know, I agree. There's no such thing as incorrect soft intelligence, it's just how it's acted upon or particularly how soft it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Fawzia Shaheen, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's just in regards to point 4.1, safeguarding. I just want to know in regards to the safeguarding, the training is delivered to the safeguarding managers, but I just want to know what about the rest of the staff? What safeguarding training is delivered to them? Is it mandatory, and how often do they actually have the safeguarding training? Thank you.
Yes, training is mandatory for all staff. Initial training work was provided by the district trainers, so all operational staff and all service delivery staff and prevention teams were updated and provided training. We have just developed the training package now, and we have got some new media that's ready to go out to staff. It hasn't been delivered at this point, but once we get back to our normal ways of working, and we want to make sure that it's very key in people's minds. So just before people start getting back out there, our service delivery staff start going out to households, we will hit again and refresh the training.
Thank you.
But it is in our all our operational personnel training for an annual basis.
Yeah, because similar soft training, just a quick remark there would be, when we had the training around, suicide prevention and all that kind of thing as well, I think it was very, very useful. And I think those kind of general trainings, sort of delivered on a more wider basis would really help and support, the staff as well. So yeah, thank you for that. Councillor David Curtin, would you like to ask a question, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Page 88, table 1, causes for concern raised by age. The last column there, 65 and over. In Calderdale, we had 30 people there compared to like 1 in Wakefield and 4 in Kirklees, and I just wondered why it was so high in Calderdale and so low in Kirklees.
Again, I think this is just some of this imbalance, and as it does talk about in the paper, some of this imbalance is just about us as a service getting this right. This is quite new to the service, and I think it's the understanding of firefighters. So we are learning what sorry, I'll start again. We are learning where this sits in terms of what is safeguarding, what is a cause of concern, and what is something that's just not a nice situation. So I don't think there's anything specific about Calderdale, but it may also lead towards that when we are doing our safe and well visits, when we are getting out there, we do have very, very strong relationships with social workers and occupational health staff in Calderdale. So a lot of the referrals we are dealing with come from them people who've already had contact with the more elderly people. So the fact that we are visiting people through our referrals due to our robust partnerships there means that we are getting into the households where people probably need more support.
Okay, thank you. That's great, is that? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Curtin. So yeah, do we have any further questions? Because I don't see any hands raised, any questions or comments. And if not, sorry, does somebody want to speak? Okay. If you don't have any questions or any comments or queries, thank you very much. I would like to thank everybody for attending and your very valuable contributions today to the Community Safety Committee meeting. I'd like to thank everybody, and we'll end the meeting here. Thank you very much for attending and your valuable contributions. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.